one and only KidzpirationNaija, the clubhouse for kids and teens. This is the second part of our Voice Out Challenge, and we're pleased to announce to you that we have Westminster College, Lagos.
I'm David Onwalu, and my colleagues.
Harry Simeon.
Thank you. I'm Elizabeth Aseachi.
Abdulhamid.
Is drug and alcohol addiction and its consequences towards teenagers.
David, and I'm here to talk with my school, Westminster College, Lagos. We're here to talk on the topic drug and alcohol addictions and its consequences on teenagers. So first, what's drugs? Drugs are chemical substances taken into the body which makes the organism or whoever takes it to feel psychological or physiological changes. Drugs can also be referred to as any substance other than food that when taken into the body to prevent, treat, diagnose or relieve symptoms of diseases. So now, addiction. Addiction can be defined as the unusual impulse to use something or the habits to do with that, the habit of using something which makes you can't do without this substance. Now, drug addiction. Drug addiction is a disease which makes one not to be able to do without drugs. Now, there are two types of drugs. We have the illicit drugs, which is the legal drugs such as paracetamol, Panadols, and so on. And we have the illicit drugs, which are the illegal drugs. And we have marijuana, cocaine, heroin, opium, and so on.
And I'm from Westminster College. We're here to talk on the topic drug addiction and its drug and alcohol addiction and its consequences on teenagers. First, I would like to define teenagers. A teenager is a person from the age of between 13 and 18. And drug addiction on teenagers, this is when a teenager can't do without drugs, and it's a very serious situation or disease. Now, symptoms of drug addiction in teenagers. When a teenager can't do it, when you see a teenager itching, scratching, or itching or scratching, it shows that the teenager is into drug addiction and has not taken that particular drug. Another symptom is insomnia. When a teenager can't sleep at night, it shows that it's a symptom of drug addiction. That's all. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. As I said, my name is Elizabeth. Thank you for having me here. I'd like to talk about alcohol. Alcohol is a substance which people drink, mostly teenagers drink nowadays, which makes them to feel high. It's a beverage. Examples of alcohol: we have spirits, we have wine, we have beer. Effects of alcohol on teenagers: it can cause damage of lungs, kidney, and other diseases in the hearts. It causes accidents. What I mean by accidents, a teenager can drink excess alcohol, which makes them to see blurred images. That's why it's advisable for people not to drink alcohol when you're below 18 years old. Then we also have crime rates. When you have alcohol in your system, it makes you do things which you're not meant to do when you're normal. Then we also have causes of drinking alcohol. We have the causes of feeling high. Some teenagers they want to feel high, they want to feel big, because they feel taking alcohol makes them to feel they are big and everything. Then secondly, we also have making them to feel negative peer pressure. When I mean negative peer pressure, it means being compelled by fellow friends into doing it. We also have bad influence, online influence. Some people see their favorite artists, their movies, which people drink alcohol, and they feel okay, they want to drink it and test it out, which makes them to test it out and start having alcohol. Thank you.
As you all know, my name is Abdulhamid, and thank you for having me here. Okay, so what is drug? Drug is intake of substances which causes change in the body. These changes could be positive or negative. Example types of drugs are the licit and the illicit drugs. Illicit drugs, these are drugs which are used to cure illnesses like coffin, amatem, etc. Examples of illicit drugs. Illicit drugs, let me explain first. They are drugs which people take for pleasure, fun, and other and to get hyperactive. Examples are cocaine, marijuana, heroin, etc. Forms of drugs. We have two forms of drugs. We have the powdered and the solid. Thank you.
Now, we'd like to hear from our first speaker.
Okay, I'm David once again. So now, I'm here to talk on alcohol again. So like we all know, everybody knows what's alcohol, even the artisans, and everyone knows. So now, alcohol is a chemical substance found in beers, wines, and liquor. They are toxic substances that, when taken in, causes psychoactive behaviors. That's euphoria or to be high. So now, reasons why people go into alcohol can include past experiences. So sometimes when people maybe have deviated from taking alcohols, so they have maybe some occasions, or so they will be like, okay, they will remember their past positive experiences when they took alcohol, and maybe will motivate and increase their motivation to take alcohol. Another reason why teenagers take alcohol is due to peer group pressure or peer influence, which is very common among our societies today. Now, peer pressure, the kind of friends, the kind of people we keep around us really determines our behaviors. So some people follow bad friends. Okay, yeah, the bad company, which gives them maybe the motivation to go into alcoholism, and therefore they start going into alcohols and taking alcohols. So symptoms now of alcoholism or alcohol addiction. We have withdrawal symptoms, and they include itching, restlessness, insomnia meaning the lack of sleep, fatigue, and so on and so on. So now we go to drug addiction on teenagers. Drug addiction on teenagers is very rampant in our society today, so therefore we have to look for a way and voice out for our fellow teenagers and help them recover from this incident. So now, drug addiction has become so big today that we don't understand that we see drugs as a normal thing, as a norm of the society now. And those drugs include marijuana, cocaine. Okay, cocaine is not mostly abused by teenagers, but mostly marijuana, such as weed, and we know that. So consequences of drug addiction, it leads to brain damage, it leads to liver damage, organ damage of the body, which can lead to death. Now, another consequence by the government. So another consequence of drug addiction or drug abuse in our government when called Nigeria, according to the Section 19 NDLEA Act, which is National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, it states that any person found abusing drugs is sentenced to 15 to 25 years imprisonment with an option of 700,000 naira fine. Thank you.
Our topic for today remains drug and alcohol addiction. Who is to be blamed? Do you think it's the government, the teachers, or the parents? Can I know your view?
Thank you very much, ma, for the question. In this situation, we have no specific person to blame, but other than who took the decision to do it, like the teenager. If someone tells you to go into something, you decide if you want to do it or not. Thank you, ma'am.
That was very, very, very nice. Okay, now, these so-called teenagers, they all know that drug is actually bad, but they still take it. And the reason is this, you know, they have different kinds of friends. If they don't take these drugs, they will not meet up to the standard of those friends. How do you think we can help them?
Thank you very much, ma, for that good question. Now, how we can help teenagers in this case? By going for therapy is a very good solution to this question. Okay. Therapy sections and counseling will help this teenager in a very good way. Another point is the teenager should decide if he truly wants to abstain from this, to go into anti-drug seminars so that they can educate and enlighten him or her on the consequences, effects of drug abuse. Thank you.
Wow, that's very impressive. Now we'll give the mic to our second speaker. Thank you.
Okay. Like I said before, my name is Harry, and I'm from Westminster College. Still on the topic, drug and alcohol addiction and its effects to teenagers. Now, the effects of drug addiction on teenagers. First, when a teenager is addicted to a drug, it can cause him or her to have mental issues. For example, because of the drug the person is taking is made to alter his thoughts. So when him or her takes the drug in excess, the brain is altered, and the person sets to have mental issues for example madness. Another consequence of getting addicted to drug is poor social life. When the teenager goes into drug addiction, he starts to have certain abnormal behaviors, which causes people to run away from him and avoid him or her, causing the person to have a very poor social life. Then another consequence of drug addiction is bankruptcy or poor financial status. When a teenager goes into drug addiction, the person sets to spend all the person's earnings or money on drugs. Even when the person doesn't have, he says to borrow, which then causes the person to be in debt. And when the person wastes the money, the debt he has borrowed, the money borrowed on drugs, he says to steal or go into robbery, which can cause a severe punishment. So another effect of drug addiction is death. When a teenager gets into drug addiction, it can cause the teenager to have organ failures and organ disruption, damages, which can cause the teenager to die. Or in some cases, it can cause the person to, when the person takes in drugs, it becomes in a state we call known as person gets high. So it can cause an accident, which can cause death or severe injuries. Thank you.
Okay, that was a nice one. Very impressive. Now you talked about organ failure. For example, some children actually have some disease attached to them at birth, and while growing up, most of them don't know what's actually wrong with them. Maybe their parents had kept it a secret from them, you understand? And they now get influenced along the line with their friends, taking drugs and stuff like that. And the parents are actually very busy. How do you think the parents can come in, or do you think the teachers should fill up that vacuum? What do you think they can do in that situation? Because I think those are things that actually lead to those kind of.
Okay, thank you, ma, for this question. But okay, what I would say is that in this situation, the teachers won't be able to help the teenager in the way we expect. That job is a job for the parents, because they are the ones who know. They are the ones that knew that the boy had problems from birth. So the only ones who can convince him to stop. So in this situation, they have to create time for the child, so that they can be able to guide the child in the right way, because they know the problem he has. Nobody else but the parents know, because they didn't tell anybody. So only the parents can be able to help the child, because they have to be able to keep the secret. They make the secrets to be known to the child, so that the child will know that what I'm doing can kill me. So him on his own will stop, because it's said by his parents, not a stranger or his teacher. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that response. Now over to you, our third speaker. You talked about alcohol. Now alcohol has become a normal thing in the lives of teenagers. They take it secretly. Some parents don't even know that their children are already addicted to alcohol. So what do we do in this kind of situation? Because parents are out there, they leave the house as early as 5 and come back home as late as 10. and most of them send their children to school. But after school, do you know that most of these children actually go to the hotel to meet with other friends and take some stuffs like these drugs and alcohol? What do you advise parents to do in this kind of situation?
I advise the parents at first to give time for their children, because nowadays parents are always busy doing everything to make time, money for the children, and so the parents should always make time, either a day or two for the child during weekends or other activities. Take them out to see shows, movies with them, instead of leaving them alone to focus on their lives without any help from them. Secondly, I would advise also parents to work on their child, give them supervision, always know what they're doing, check them even when they're less busy, and always keep track of what they're doing. Then thirdly, if the teenager has a phone or are always online, I advise parents to always keep the guides on the phone, check what they're doing, recent checks, everything they're doing. Because nowadays, children are always influenced online, always checking on social media, because nowadays social media is becoming a very corrupt scene for children nowadays. Because people are always online on social media, you can see different posts of people, of everything there. So parents should always monitor their children and what they're doing on social media. Thank you very much.
Okay. That's a very nice one. I appreciate you. Now, our last and honorable speaker, Mr. Walid. So over to you. Do you think drug and alcohol is an option for teenagers to find solace? Do you think it's an option? For example, they don't have anyone to talk to and they just think that drugs and alcohol is actually their best friend. Do you think it's right for them to do that?
Thank you very much for that question, Ma. But my answer is no, because of, even though you don't have friends, you can try to make friends, because it's probably because of your behaviors and the way you behave, your experiences, your way of thoughts and your acts. That must be the case why people don't have friends, and that must be the reason why they don't have anyone to talk to and they go into those drugs. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We've talked about the consequences and the meaning, so let's add the remedy for teenagers who are listening out there. Remedies of drug and alcohol abuse. First of all, we first need abstinence. What I mean by abstinence, we need to stay away from the drug. But before that, we also need to keep our minds and tell us why we need to stay away from the drugs. Because without a reason, we won't be able to know why we are staying away from the drugs. How to set a goal for ourselves and all we need to do in this life. Then abstinence, yes, you need to take away from drugs. Do activities like sports activities to keep your time, or you sleep or you rest or do other games and fun things. Then change of environment. Yes, this is very important to teenagers. If you understand that you don't have a very good environment around you, you have negative peer pressure, it's a very advisable way to change the environment you live in. Stay with people who give you positive influence in your life.
Disabilities are also caused by drugs. Some of these physical disabilities, teenagers have known to have a high increased risk of death due to drugs, like suicide, homicide, accident, and illnesses. Drugs have caused mental illness like depression, psychosocial dysfunction, and hallucination due to drugs. Drug abusers create obstacles for learning for both them and their classmates. Drug abusers are stigmatized by their peers and they are dismissed by their peers because of their peers can be influenced negatively by them. As of 19, even though drug-related traffickers for teenagers have reduced, in 1998 alone, there were recorded 2,000 car crashes of teenagers due to drug. This limited examples of catastrophic health-related issues illustrates how dangerous drugs are. Thank you.
Like our third speaker said, we have said the consequences, the causes, the effect, and the meaning, but now we need to do the remedy. Like she said, before you can actually have any form of remedy, you need to know why you want to leave. So the first step is creating a reason why you want to exit drug addiction, and constantly reminding yourself that this is the reason I want to leave drug addiction. The second step is abstinence. You have to keep away from the drugs you which you take. Try your best. Inform people to help you, like to stay away from the drugs. Go for things that will help you stay away from the drugs. The next step will be therapy or rehab. go for therapy so I can be able to tell you how and what you should do in order for you to avoid taking the drugs or stop it. The next thing you do is to create a goal for yourself, like a starting point or a limit in which you take a drug. This will help you limit the way you take drugs in order for you to stop the drug addiction. The next step will be creating a hobby. This hobby which you create during leisure time, it helps you forget that you take drugs, which reduces the drugs in which you take, and then helps for you to reduce the drugs, and eventually you stop taking drugs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my co-speakers. So now, as our host said, do we really think that drug addiction is an option? No, it is not an option, but we don't have to blame anybody. We have to pray that we are not in the shoes that makes us think about going into drugs. Because some teenagers have some reasons which are basically very bad. So all we need to do is to help, encourage, and enlighten them on everything and the effects of drug addiction. Thank you.
That was very impressive, and awesome one from Westminster College. You've all heard what they had to say, and I hope the teenagers out there, you don't give drug and alcohol a chance to rule your lives. Thank you very much. Thank you, Westminster.